Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new Ninjago video here on the channel. My name is TannerFishies. In today's video, we are going to be covering some Ninjago hot takes that were submitted by you guys, the audience. In case you guys don't know what a hot take is, well, a hot take is a spicy or maybe controversial opinion. You know, it's an opinion that not a lot of people may share, and throughout the entire Ninjago community, there is no shortage of spicy or controversial Ninjago opinions. A couple of days ago, I made a post over on my community tab asking you guys to submit Ninjago hot takes, and I would tackle a few in a video. We got almost 700 submissions, and I went through the entirety of the comment section to locate the ones that I thought were the spiciest, or the ones that I thought would make for an interesting discussion. For a couple of quick disclaimers, obviously these takes are going to be controversial, or at least they should be somewhat controversial. That is the entire point of a hot take, and as such you may find yourself disagreeing with many points presented in today's video, and that's okay, you're kind of supposed to. And also, for another thing, we will be showcasing usernames and profile pictures in today's video. These takes are supposed to be controversial. Please don't feel the need to harass anyone whose name is featured in today's video. That's just not great. We should all be able to have a civil discussion over these spicy Ninjago opinions. And why don't we get started by taking a look at the first one, and we will just go through the list from here. Hopefully you enjoyed, and let's go ahead and dive on into it. So for the first one we have here, hot take: the Overlord is one of Ninjago's worst villains. Sure, he has a big part in the history of Ninjago, but that doesn't nearly make up for the bad parts of him. He is the definition of generic. Even his name is generic. He is evil just for the sake of it. I hope Crystalized will improve his character, but as it stands, he is a very bad villain. Yeah, so I personally disagree with this take. The Overlord, for those that don't know, is one of my personal favorite Ninjago villains, though I will admit a lot of that does rely on the history of the Overlord and his crucial role in the historical context of Ninjago, so I might be a little biased there in saying that the Overlord is one of my favorite bad guys, because on the surface, yeah, he is supposed to be like the physical embodiment of evil, and as such, yes, he is going to be a little bit generic. I do have a feeling that maybe Ninjago Crystalized will change this character a little bit, give him more of an individual personality, but I have seen people say that he is just a generic bad guy, and I do understand where those points are coming from. This is the next hot take: the Wild Brain era is the best Ninjago has ever been. One of the reasons why is because it's the most consistent Ninjago has ever been, with minimal contradictions and plot holes from season to season. No powers get forgotten about, past events stay relevant with new lore introduced around them. The emotional stories that are a lot of fun are at the heart of this era though, and I wouldn't want that changed. So yeah, I mean, a lot of the Wild Brain era stuff does get a lot of negative attention, especially from older Ninjago fans, though I do agree with this take for the most part. The Wild Brain era, while it may not be Ninjago's best thing in my opinion, it certainly does fix a lot of the problems of older Ninjago. The characters are consistent from one season to the next, and like this comment says, all of their powers, even the suits, remain the same. I think for people that do care about that kind of stuff, people that care about consistency and the seasons flowing really well from one to the next, not feeling like each one is a brand new story, rather each one is connected, I feel like if you're a big fan of that idea, then you're going to be a huge fan of the Wild Brain era Ninjago stuff. Maybe this comment will have you reassess your feelings towards Wild Brain Ninjago. Maybe just a little bit. Cbound is quite frankly a very bad season. Characters play a small role that should have been bigger. Looking at you, Kai, Wu, and Maya. Awful goon army. Benthamar was boring and forgettable. The writing is so bad, it makes season 11 look like Shakespeare, and it gives us one of the worst villains in the entire series, Kalmar. The only reason why people like it is because of its sad ending. Sad is in quotations there as well. Yeah, pretty loaded comment here. Cbound, I'm not really sure if it's a bad season per se. I mean, Cbound certainly has some issues, but it's nowhere near Ninjago's worst for me. I do like the ending, but I don't think the ending defines the entire season though. I think Kalmar is a fine villain. I don't think the writing is so bad either. I feel like season 11 had worse writing if we're being honest here. But I can understand where this comment is coming from. Basically, Cbound just was not their cup of tea, and I can totally understand why. Overall, this comment makes a good point. I don't really agree with this one though. Hot take: Core is extremely and brutally underrated. The animation is better than all of the seasons before it. They brought back so many amazing characters, had good messages, and the sets are awesome. I will agree, Ninjago Core, in terms of the sets, I think a lot of people should probably look into those sets a little bit more. In terms of the actual Ninjago Core shorts though, I can understand why some people wouldn't like them very much. They do feel kind of dumbed down, so to speak. Lessons are the primary focus of those shorts. Each one has an important lesson that they're trying to teach the audience, and I understand that a lot of Ninjago's audience doesn't really feel the need to be preached at. Though I do agree, the animation in the Core shorts was really well done, and I feel like the messages, while preachy to some extent, were actually really heartfelt and important to learn. I do agree with the Core sets being underrated though. I feel like a large majority of the community should probably take a second glance at those Core sets. This comment reads, I hate Cole. He's just bland comic relief and I genuinely hate his design. Nothing against hating his his design, I can understand why some people wouldn't like it. It's not everybody's cup of tea. I get that. I don't think Cole is just a bland comic relief character, though. And for those that don't know, Cole is my favorite ninja, but I can understand why some people wouldn't really be into the guy. I get it for sure. I wouldn't consider him to be a comic relief character, though. I think that's more Jay and Kai's market, though Cole does have his funny moments. In fact, all of the ninja do, but I'm not really sure if I would classify him as a comic relief character. And in terms of his design, I quite enjoy it. But once again, that's just my personal opinion. Hot take. So far, Crystalized isn't even that good. It feels incredibly rushed, especially when dealing with Nia's return and the ninja's grief, and it seems like they're relying on nostalgia to make it likable. The ninja going to prison again, Harumi and previous villains' returns, etc. I'm not saying it's all bad, and I definitely can't fully judge the season until it's all out, but I found myself incredibly disappointed after how much this season was hyped up. Yeah, I totally understand where this comment is coming from. I personally feel like Crystalized so far has been decent, but in terms of things like Nia's return and the ninja's grief, I've made it no secret that I'm not a huge fan of how quickly they brought Nia back. I feel like maybe they could have stretched that out for the entire season, maybe have Nia come back towards the very end of the season if anything. And I feel like to some degree Crystalized so far doesn't really have a clear direction, but once again I feel like that'll pick up with part 2. Again, Crystalized certainly has some stuff going on so far in part 1 that I am not a really big fan of, specifically Nia and her coming back way too quickly. The new ninja are underrated. They have great strategies like placing a tracker in the Venstone cart so they can track down the villain behind it all. Their weapons and fighting style is also done pretty well, and they always manage to catch the bad guys, including Pythor, who isn't an easy one to deal with. I mean, yeah, the community has not been treating the new ninja well ever since they were introduced in Ninjago Crystalized, but I feel like that's the point. The characters are kind of designed to be unlikable. You're not really supposed to root for these guys per se, but I can see why people like them. Ultimately, I feel like the new ninja will have a place in Ninjago Crystalized Part 2, whether it be teaming up with the ninja to take down the Crystal King, or alternatively, they could go against the ninja alongside the Crystal Council, being a type of secondary antagonist. Either way, in terms of the new ninja, I feel like we haven't really seen a whole lot about them just yet to completely judge them, but I imagine we will find out more about these characters as the season progresses. I really hope Crystalized is the last season of the original series. This is a great place to end the series, and I really can't see how they'd be able to outdo Crystalized as an ending. We already know that it won't be the ending of Ninjago as a whole, but my greatest fear for the series is that it never will get a definitive ending, and it will just kind of fizzle out. Yeah, I mean, I can understand that 100%. I feel like Ninjago deserves a solid ending, and that was one of my biggest fears for a long time as well, that Ninjago would just kind of end off on a cliffhanger or end without a proper conclusion. While Crystalized may be that conclusion on paper, I feel like the Ninjago staff is creative enough to come up with an ending besides Crystalized if they really wanted to. But I do agree, as of right now, Crystalized does seem like some type of ending. I feel like a lot of our questions will be answered though once Ninjago Crystalized wraps up, so in terms of what Ninjago has planned for next year, I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see, though I do 100% understand where this comment is coming from. Hot take, Moro was a wasted character and deserved better than what he got. He should have been brought back to life somehow, like by an ancient scroll that Sensei Wu never told the ninja about, like that's new, and also should have been given a better redemption arc than what he got. Personally, I would have loved to have seen him become a ninja ally like Skylar and help out the ninja occasionally, but also keeping him away on his own journey since he's kind of overpowered. Yeah, I mean, that's probably why Skylar isn't around very often either, because her power is pretty overpowered. In terms of Moro, I feel like his ending was decent with what we got. I'm not really sure how I would describe my feelings on that per se, but I can totally understand where this comment is coming from by saying that Moro should have been given more to do, maybe even becoming a ninja ally. He was an elemental master, there's no reason why he wouldn't have been a great help to the ninja team if the Ninjago staff decided to keep him around. Hot take, Pythor is very poorly handled as a character. Whenever he's in the show, the writers never give him proper closure. Like every season they establish him as this menacing villain that contributes a lot to the plot for the majority of his screen time, but then they just don't know what to do with him and it often results in the most underwhelming conclusions. For example, in season 1 he's just eaten by the Devourer, in season 3 he's shrunk by the pill, and when he is back to normal in season 4, we don't see him again until Day of the Departed, and even after his fight with Lloyd, he just slithers away. I just hope that we can see the aftermath of Crystalized have an effect on Pythor and how it affects him. Yeah, so I understand what this comment is saying. Basically, Pythor needs to be written better. He needs more character growth, he needs more of a personality. I agree with this take. I mean, now that Pythor is back in Ninjago Crystalized, maybe the series is going to be giving him another chance at shining. I think that's always a possibility. I think Pythor is just held back by weak writing sometimes, but overall, I find this character to be pretty unique in terms of his perspective. While it may not be presented in the best way, I feel like Pythor as a character is a lot better than many other Ninjago villains out there, though I do agree he is not a perfectly written character. I feel like a Ninjago reboot would be good for the show. It would allow for the characters to be refreshed and would allow for more planning in advance for the show. The characters have had a lack of development and the plot plots have been less planned out, a reboot would fix that by creating a newer story. Yeah, for sure, I can see where this comment is coming from. Maybe Ninjago in 2023 will have the best of both worlds going on. You know, maybe by giving Ninjago a soft reboot instead of a full-on hard reboot. That way you can keep the continuity of the previous series, but establish something more, something different for the Ninjago series as a whole. In terms of Ninjago not really having much planning going on, I hesitate to say that's true because in the Wildbrain saga specifically, we've seen them plan plot points seasons in advance. For example, the Venge Stone Buyer arc. But I do understand where they're coming from. A reboot would certainly solve a lot of problems, but at the same time, a reboot would also create many more problems that the Ninjago series doesn't really have currently. And finally, here we have the last one that I want to talk about in today's video. This one reads, "Hot take, I love Espira. She's actually a great character. Her backstory is one of the most interesting I've seen, especially with her past with Wu. She has an iconic design, voice, and demeanor. Her being in the Council of the Crystal King is a great choice. Also, she is a hilarious character, and her saying revenge should not be taken as annoying, but as an iconic line." Interesting. Kind of a different perspective on Espira here. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the Espira character, especially during the Fire chapter. So far during Crystalized, she's been better, but still not perfect. I'm hoping for more development at some point down the line, but I get where this comment is coming from as well, because Espira's backstory is actually really well done. At least in terms of Ninjago bad guys that have a history with Master Wu, which is basically 90% of them at this point. All jokes aside though, yeah, I do believe her design is awesome, her voice is iconic and recognizable, and she has an attitude that is unmatched by any other Ninjago character. I may have been against the Espira character during the Fire chapters airing, but I feel like in Ninjago Crystalized, maybe they could turn that character around for me personally. And this comment made a lot of really good points. I just hope that after Ninjago Crystalized is all said and done, I will find myself being a bigger fan of the Espira character. But until then, you guys, that'll pretty much wrap it up for today's round of Ninjago hot takes. That's about all we have time for in today's video. Thank you all so much for submitting Ninjago hot takes when I put up that community tab post. Again, sorry I was not able to go through every single one. As much as I would love to discuss almost 700 Ninjago hot takes, I don't really have the time to do that. Leave a comment down below discussing which hot take you thought was the spiciest or most controversial, and which ones do you agree or disagree with. Leave all your thoughts down below in the comments. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and like I said, that'll wrap it up for my thoughts here today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and I will talk to you guys again in the next video. Peace.